From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. Today is a little bit of a different podcast. I sit down with my good friend, Mr. Jeff Brown, and we talk about following your passion. Wow, and why Jeff changed from doing workplace education training to being an assistant pastor at his church. This is a really interesting conversation. A lot of people should take this to heart. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Stunning Digital Marketing is your digital concierge. We help you put the pieces together to make your marketing success. Specialties we have including WordPress design and development, WordPress security, which is one of our most popular offerings, ads, and more. So if you want to succeed in the digital world, go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and have a look at what we offer, and we'd be glad to help you. And let's jump on a call and make it happening. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey, everybody, Rob Cairns here. And then today I have my good friend, Mr. Jeff Brown, with me, and we are going to talk about some stuff that's probably going to blow your mind away, and I'll save that. How are you, Jeff?
I am doing really well, Rob. Just it's a great day here, and as always, I'm supposed to be on a bit of a vacation, but I'm still learning how to do vacation mode, so to speak.
Vacation mode. What is that? You mean my 2 days in the sandbanks last week to do sweet nothing and lie on a beach chair? Now that's a vacation.
Well, I find that if I don't go somewhere, I'm tempted to just let little things creep back into, and I know that's a bad habit. My boss at work is trying to literally say, stop it.
Yeah, and you just hit
but I'm learning.
You hit the magic word, boss at work. I thought you were self-employed. Now, I do know what's going on, so we'll kind of talk about those. For those who don't know, Jeff's been on the show multiple times, and he was, and I use the word was, a workplace education trainer. So what has happened in your life since you've been with us last time?
Well, I've now transitioned and I've taken on a new role. So let's step back just a little bit. What was it now? 2006 was the last year that I was working for the man. In other words, I was employed. And I said, I'm going to have my own business. I am never going back to being an employee. And I said that, and we've had a great business. Rob, you and I we've known each other for years. We've had some wonderful conversations. We've done amazing things. And now I'm having to say that I'm now an employee, and I'm an assistant pastor at a fast growing church. And everything that I've taught people to do over the years, I now find resting on my plate. I'm doing the website, I'm doing the social media, I'm doing administrative stuff. I'm doing things that are trying to free up the lead pastor so that he can be a little bit more mindful on the people and the other things that he has to do.
Yep.
And so I'm learning to be an employee again, and to be a really good one, and to really make a difference.
Now it's really interesting because, and by the way, you're also doing, if I recall right, just a little bit of accounting. My most unfavorite task is on the face of the earth, right? So
yes,
I hate doing my own books. This is why I don't do them. Lesson to listeners, you don't like doing it, find somebody to do it for you. So I'm already in that mode, as you know. And I think in some sense, the lead pastor's done that. He doesn't have time to do it or doesn't like doing stuff. So guess who gets to do that stuff?
It is moi.
That is you. But more importantly, and why I wanted to talk about this is You and I had been talking about this for a long, long time. And when you broke the news to me on a phone call, I kind of was not shocked. I will tell you that. I've said that to you. And I think it's driving life with passion and a purpose to some degree. And
Absolutely.
and you're passionate about the church. And I think you got to the point in what you were doing is you're passionate about teaching people, but I don't think the mechanics were working well, personally.
No, it's almost as if I'll use the word grace or the ease of which I was able to do it seemed to lift off the workplace education. Now, I still loved it. It seemed to get harder. And it's not that I didn't love the people, it's just that the fit wasn't there anymore.
Yep.
And now I'm transitioning. I'm still, previously I helped people in business. Now I'm just helping people in the community.
Yep.
And I find that that's it was a great move and it was time. As a matter of fact, you and our conversations, it might have been slightly delayed a bit.
Mhm. And it's true, but and I was at that point, to be frank, when I came out of healthcare 14 years ago. Um, I loved the people, I loved the nurses, I loved the doctors, I loved helping people. But those who know healthcare in Canada know it's very political top heavy and it's very mind-boggling top heavy. And when you're running $1 million projects and having to steal from Peter to pay Paul every day, it's really complicated. And it got to the point when I left, and I didn't leave in my case on my own doing, I was ready to go. And I think to some degree you were ready and it was time.
Yes, and it really was time. And the what was really neat is I left well. I left at the top of my game. And even the head of workplace education said that basically I'm welcome back anytime.
Mhm.
So we didn't leave on a bad note. Um, but we left possibly leaving a slight open door. But what I'm finding now is now that I've made the transition, I'm now busier more than ever before doing things that I really have purpose and meaning and I know is going to matter. And that's always what I've always wanted to do, regardless of whether it was workplace education or working at a church. I just want it to matter and help people.
Yeah, I agree with you. All you got to do now is find somebody to take on doing those books every month so you don't have to do them.
Well, one day we're going to replace me, and and that's one thing you should always be looking to equip someone else to replace you.
Yeah.
Therefore, because if you are not, if someone can't do your work, you're not replaceable. So you're stuck in your position. So you always have to be raising up leaders to do what you do.
Yeah, there's no question. And like I hear it in you pretty well. We talk pretty frequently that I think you're happier these days. I think you were going through a period where you weren't as happy with what you were doing. I could hear it almost. And I
It was becoming stressful, and it was just it wasn't that the people were bad, they were wonderful. It wasn't that the coordinators were bad, they were wonderful. It's just that everything has an expiry label on it. And I reached that, and I just knew inside my gut that it was time, and probably I might have stayed a little too long, but I fulfilled all my contracts
Yep.
and made sure that everybody, even empowering the team that I work with to be able to be functional in the fall without me. And so not only leaving right, but helping others step into that role. Because I'd like to think I left some pretty big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I had a role many, many years ago where I was involved in amateur lacrosse in Ontario, big time. I was involved in a at a provincial committee level. I was involved at a house league local level. I actually ran the house league locally in the town I'm back in right now, my hometown, Markham, Ontario, which is the home of Andre DeGrasse. And for those who are Olympic fans, better know who he is, but
Absolutely.
that's another story. And when I left, I had made a decision probably 3 months before I left that I was going. And I had made a decision that I wasn't going to finish the year up. And part of it was at the time, running the house league was putting more stress on me than running my own business. And that says something. And, but I didn't want to leave it in a mess. So I decided to get early on, I would get the year started. I'd get us through the started year. I would leave things in an organized way, both at the provincial level and at the local level. So I didn't have to deal with a million and one phone calls. I didn't have to deal with stuff because I wanted to do at that time a clean break. And I actually left stuff in a manageable way. So all somebody had to do is pick it up and go with it. And I left it all in place. And I think that's really important when you're transitioning out of something.
Yeah. Because it sounds like with your example and my example, we were probably heading in the direction of burnout, where literally we're working so hard and it just things that were flowed so seamlessly and easy weren't anymore.
Yeah.
And the joy was out of it.
I,
And it was time to move on and to move on well.
I,
And that's something that is really important.
I was already there, to be honest with you. My volunteer work at that time was taking me about 50 hours a week and then tossing 40 hours a work week. That's 90 and do the math. Where do you have time to do anything else, right? So
Yeah.
and by the way, and sleep for 8 hours a night too. So there's 8 times 7 gone there too. So that doesn't leave
Yeah.
for much else in between.
No. So did you find yourself as you were starting to make the decision to leave, did you find yourself having a little bit more difficulty in sleeping and just
No,
kind of struggling with it?
not really. In my case, the last straw was we had a parent walk in and say, I'm telling you what to do because I pay $240 for my kid to play, and that gives me a say in what the executive does. And I said to the parent very undiplomatically, can you tell me the last annual general meeting you attended, or do I need to pull up those records for you? I knew what the answer was. Zero.
Yeah.
And it's that whole, unfortunately, right now in the world, and this was years ago. So this was 12 years ago. People are dealing more with self-entitlement than ever before, and that's part of the problem. You can't, everybody thinks because they did this, they deserve that. Well, life doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. But unfortunately, people think it does. And in their world, they pursue what they believe are their rules of which they play by.
Yep.
But in many cases, like that one, for example, that is encroaching very closely to almost a bullying mindset where, hey, this is my way of the highway, and you're going to toe the rope.
Yep. And this one, it was interesting. The issue that caused the discussion with the parent was his 14-year-old made a racial slur on the floor, and he didn't see anything wrong with it. And that,
Mm.
and I hate to tell you, there was definitely color issues. Child that made the racial slur was white. Kid that received the racial slur was black. And at the time, the head referee for our association was on the floor, and I was standing in the penalty box, and we both heard it as clear as day.
Yeah, that player should have been pulled right at that moment.
Oh,
Because there's times in the game to get into people's heads because that's just part of sports. But doing that, there's no need of that. There's no reason why that should be. There's other practical ways in the game of sports to try to get into the head of your competitors and try to, gain a little advantage, but that's just not the way. You know what I mean?
not the way at all. At the time, it's the only time in 14 years that I was involved that we ever issued a game misconduct in a house league game. Does that tell you? So
Yeah,
he
that was just what was he thinking?
that
And why? Well, we won't go down that alley, but
oh, we will
uh
we will go down that alley because it was like it was like I can understand why he made it because his parents didn't seem anything wrong with it. And
so what you're telling me is the apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
what I'm telling you is there's a really good mental health book out there called Own Your Past, Change Your Future, and our past shapes who we are. Is
Yeah.
what I'm telling you.
Yeah, and that's now one of my greatest challenges now that I work with people
Yeah.
is to bring value, help them to be the people, um, good, moral, good, strong-minded people that, are community-minded and they want to build and create great things.
Yeah. I
And
would
there's no room for that foolishness.
No, I agree. I would say you guys are pretty lucky. I've had, fortunately, the honor and pleasure speaking to your head pastor many times, as you know. I've had a couple email conversations. I've been on a Zoom call with the both of you more than once, and he's pretty progressive. I mean, one of the things you started doing as a volunteer before you even got in this room was live streaming your church services.
Yeah.
And that happened during COVID, but you've
Actually, we talked about that yesterday. We started in 2017. We kind of joked about it because he started with his phone.
yes.
And I immediately said, man, we can do better than that. And I just grabbed and put it on the laptop. Now the cameras we started with were like a Sony Handycam or whatever that thing was. And it was somewhat, well, not primitive, but it isn't what we have today.
Yep.
But we learned a lot of lessons so that when COVID hit, we were ready. And what was even funny, you'll find this amusing, is that we would be in the church recording him doing his sermon, and I would put this giant stuffed animal in a seat so that he could talk to that animal and feel like somebody was there.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. We still laugh about that till today.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing live streaming since the infancy to the days where we used to throw webcams on phones on top of BMX ramps. So there you go.
Mm,
It's just it's become so cheap to do, to be honest with you at this point. So
yeah,
it's easy.
but it takes skill to do it right though.
Yeah. I think one of the things that Pastor Dave does it really well is he embraces technology and newer ways of doing things. And I think in the church culture, depending on the religion and
Yeah.
depending on the church, so let's be fair, but I think in many cases they miss the boat because they're not looking for ways to change as the times change. And part of the problem with doing that is then you're not in sync with your congregation because your congregation's living in a new world. And in a lot of cases, a lot of church culture is so, I hate to say it, so 100 years ago.
Mm.
Do you think?
Yeah, we were looking at our basically our why statement, and it's loving your world to life.
Yeah.
And if you think of Simon Sinek and the Golden Circle,
Mhm.
that is why we do what we do. How we do it is we reach, we teach, and we mobilize, which means that we're not looking for people to come and sit. We want people to come and build a community to help others, to love those around them, and to be the positive change in our community. And that is not accomplished when you just come every Sunday and sit. You need to serve. You need to, reach out and be a positive force in your community.
Yeah. And it's more than the building. Like a lot of people think, and I hate to say it, there's ministers and reverends that think this way too. They have to be in church to believe. And I would argue very strongly, no, that's only where it starts. You have to believe it as part of your value system all day long.
Yeah. Well, we really believe in community, and community can happen any day of the week, and we encourage that.
Yeah.
If community is only happening Sunday, we've missed the mark.
Yeah.
And we like people gathering and encouraging, building one another up. And literally, strange enough, we have a lot of guys in the church that have motorcycles. And
Yeah.
so they will go on rips, a bunch of them. They'll go and just drive and have a time of their life. And it's what builds community.
Yeah. I will share with you a story. I think I've shared this with you and Dave before. So if I have, I'm sorry, but it's interesting. I went quite frequently as a child. My parents were always in church. My dad was Presbyterian. My mom was Anglican. I've been baptized Anglican. So there's not much difference between the two. There's a few, but there's nothing spectacular. And when we moved to Toronto, we got out of the practice of going. Partly is we didn't find the community we wanted. When we used to go in Quebec, we were very much in tune with the church community. And my dad and I started going to the Presbyterian Church in Markham and together. And I went with my father because A, I wanted to go back, but B, I wanted to support him and what he was doing. And then the minister, the reverend in the Presbyterian Church, got up and preached a sermon how you are bad Christians if you are not in church on Sundays. Oh, and my father looked at me and said, please don't. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm done. And I had a big discussion with the Reverend and several senior elder members of the church how this is misguided information and this isn't what God has taught us and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And the looks on the elder's face was, where the hell did this guy come from with this viewpoint and how articulate he was? And it's interesting because that reverend lasted, I think, 3 more months and was gone, rightfully.
Yeah,
So, but that experience soured me because I'm a big believer if you believe in something that encompasses your life, it's not just an hour a week, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
absolutely. And strangely enough, Pastor Dave and I had this conversation. And the crux of it is that in the world, people get beat down. They don't need to be beat down anymore. They need to be lifted up and encouraged.
Yep.
And we want to encourage people to gather, build community, but it's not, we don't beat people, we lift them up. We encourage them. That's what motivates people to, be in a community, build a community. And if, I mean, I like seeing people Sunday. I miss them when they're not there,
Yeah.
but it's not, we're not making rules that if you don't do there, you don't go there, then you're not a good person. You know what I mean? We want you there because we want to see you there. We want to engage with you. We like people.
Yeah, I think you guys are truly lucky between you and Dave and the rest of your team. You've got the right people to build people up instead of, as I say, going about things as we did 50 or 60 years ago. And, I'll share with you an story. I can remember as a child, I actively went to Sunday school. And, on Sundays while my parents were in church. And I had what was it? A church event, and then I had to sing both at Christmas time, and then I
Yeah.
had to sing in the school concert. And it was so important back then that I didn't choose. My parents were not happy. I did not choose which one I was going to. I went to both. And I went to the church event, and then I was running backstage at the Christmas concert because I was part of a quartet to sing a Christmas carol. And those for don't know me, how the hell did Rob do that? Because I can't sing for Beans or Burns, but that's besides the point anymore. But the point was that's how important it was, and my parents understood that. Where now it's like instead of accepting people for who they are, which is the biggest premises the church is built on, we're back into this um, look at us kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that if we can get people to a God that loves them, God's big enough to change people.
Yep.
I mean, it's like my wife and I don't try to change my wife. That's not my job. I'm trained to, bless her and encourage her, be her partner and lead where I need to lead. But changing someone else, that's God's problem. That's we work on ourselves, so to speak.
I,
And if I can just get people to God, God can sort it up. He's big enough to sort that stuff out.
no question. And if you got to change your wife that much, I hate to say it, you're probably in the wrong marriage or the wrong. You know,
Well, I've
and you,
when
and you can
when
tell
Sue and
that.
I first started, they were frying pans and pots and pans flying.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so we have grown immensely over the years,
Yep.
and I am glad I have my wife.
No, no question on that one. I just really appreciate you sharing this story because it's really interesting. And I've said this to you. First of all, I'm really proud of you, and you know that.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And it's about doing what you're passionate about. And that's why I wanted to share this story, not doing what you have to do. And life is so much better when you do what you're passionate about and you're not focused on that. I have to do this tomorrow. I have to do this now. I mean, I'm at that point where I do and deal with clients and people that I'm passionate about. And if it doesn't fit, oh, that's okay. We move on. We just deal with
Exactly.
it. And I'll tell you, my life is way much better doing that. So
Absolutely. And it's not like my life has got less busy. I'm both you and I are passionate about reading, and I'm consuming books like no tomorrow. And I'm learning things that are going to make me a better leader
yep.
and better part of the church, so to speak. And so a lot of what I've been doing, I'm continuing to do, but just in a different spot. But I really love it. And it's not that there's always challenges wherever you go. There's no perfect place. The moment you get there, if it was perfect, it's not perfect anymore because we are imperfect. But to be in a place where you actually love to go to work
Mhm.
and you're passionate about what you do, regardless of what you do, that is wonderful. And that's where I find myself after all these years. And I know that you and I have had some great conversations. Both you and I have done some amazing things in our field of expertise. I mean, I left at the top of my game, and I absolutely, and I know you're at the top of your game, but there's more game. This new job, there's more game to get on top of, so to speak, and more, um, more to do, more challenges. And I'm still a little bit competitive. I'm still trying to work that and uh, how that literally plays itself out. But I would not, between you and I would not mind having to be the fastest growing church in Canada.
Yeah.
And we are heading in that direction. We've got a great leadership team, but like every place, every business, your team absolutely matters. Your attitude matters. If people are passionate about what they're doing, it matters. And so I find myself going around the mountain again, this time something else, applying all the skills that I've learned over the years and literally having a great time at it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think where a lot of it comes down to is how you treat people. So
Mm,
I'll give you an example. On Monday, I was walking into Tiz's office. I hadn't been in there in a while. And I ran into one of the 80-year-old founders of the business I was standing waiting for. And he came up and he knows the health stuff I've been through in the last 6 months. And he made a point of stopping, not just to say hi, but to genuinely say, how are you feeling? How are you doing? How's the health? What's going on his way out for the day? And he could have Sam very easily could have run by me and been, I'm busy and yada yada yada.
yeah,
And he made the time. And the reason I share that story is because it's all how you treat people.
yeah,
And I said to Tiz walking out, I said, that's so Sam. And anytime I've met him at corporate events or talked to him, that's so who he is.
yeah,
And it's all how you treat people because all I try and do is treat people the way I want to be treated.
absolutely. And one of the things I continue to learn to be better at is to be present in
Yep.
the moment,
Yep.
in the conversation, whatever's going, not in my mind somewhere else, but be
So that
present in the moment.
the way we do this is you see this thing in my hand? When you're out with your friends, take this thing and turn it over or put it somewhere and be done with it. Like that, I hate to tell you, I love technology, but they're the biggest reasons people aren't present in the moment. It's so easy to pick it up and scroll and get distracted. And
Absolutely.
if you want to pick it up to take pictures, that's one thing, or to show somebody something that's in a conversation, that's in a moment. But then when you're done, put it down. Go back to playing board games. We sat on the beach on Sunday. What did we do on beach chairs? We sat and played backgammon on beach lounges on the beach. I mean,
Yeah.
how hard is that? And by the way, a cell phone wouldn't have done me any good anyway because the resort's in the middle of nowhere in a dead spot. Yay!
Yeah. But it's life is short.
Yep.
We need to take advantage of where we find ourselves. Because be present in the moment today, let tomorrow worry about itself. Because, both you and I are well able to take care of whatever's coming down the road. But enjoying, like I know you protect your weekends and you love your weekends and you love spending it with Tiz. It's important to protect those
Yep.
because at the end of the day, if you don't, no one else will. Everybody will take from your time and literally ruin your weekend if you let them.
Yeah.
And so being able to slow down, enjoy the moment, and sometimes enjoying the moment is not a fast-paced endeavor, but like backgammon, just lying on a chair, having great conversations, just playing the game. You're thinking, wow, how productive can that be? Well, you're not worried about being productive. You're worried about being present in the moment in people's lives. And that's one of the things as a pastor I'm learning is that we're having some pretty high level conversations. People real, for instance, they need hope. Someone's died in the family. I am, I have not done my first funeral yet. My first funeral ever was my mother, so that kind of ruined things.
Yeah.
But I know invariably that will come along. But being kind and present and loving to the family that's literally lost someone that they love.
Yeah.
And these are conversations that you just can't grab your phone and be texting while you're talking to people. You absolutely need to slow down and be listening to what people are saying.
I get that Monday night after we left his office, we were headed to a friend of hers who she worked with, who lost her husband. And in the Orthodox culture, people get together 40 days after somebody passes away, just
Yeah.
to sit and chat and get together. So we were going by Tina's house afterwards, and earlier in that week, I had gone to the funeral home with Tiz, and Tina said, "I hope Rob's coming," just because us being there, and we both got texts after saying how much it meant to her that both of us were there on Monday night. So sometimes you just have to do what's right, and
Yeah.
supporting your friends and your family is generally what's right. I think some people don't get that. There's too much garbage in families. I've been through that before. You've been through that before. We've all been through.
Oh, yes.
And
You and I've had some great conversations around all the stuff that we've encountered over the years.
yeah, and I think, truthfully, I think you're closer to your friends sometimes because you pick your friends. You do not pick your family. And I say that a lot. And you pick your partner. And that's important too. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to leave people with one thing that was really a challenge in this transition, what was it?
It's just to make the decision and do it.
Yeah.
I kind of took my time. I probably overanalyzed the switch
Yep.
is probably what I did. And that's an ongoing conversation that the lead pastor and I have over some of the other stuff because I want to make sure that like my role now matters in the hearts and minds of people. I want to make sure that I don't go in like a wrecking ball. And so make the decision and do it. If you're right, great. If you're wrong, you can fix it. But waffling in the middle, back and forth, that doesn't produce much goodness, we'll say, and it can slow you down. Now, fortunately, I had time constraints that I work within, programs for ending, stuff like that. But I knew, I would say 3 months before the end that this was heading in that direction. You and I have had, and I appreciate our conversations because I really had to process, was I really going to pull the trigger on this thing?
I think you knew 6 months before. Personally, you're selling yourself a little short, I think, but that's,
Yeah,
that's, I
but
said, the day you,
that's what I would leave people. Just make the decision, get as much great information as you can, and do it. Once you've got the information, do not procrastinate. Just do it. I left in the top of my game. I left right. I knew that if I went longer, there would not be a gracious leaving. I would probably, just the way things were going, it probably would have been bad. so to speak. So
It would have
leave on the top of your game.
crashed and burned. Jeff, as always, thank you. I appreciate you, I think, more than you realize. And I just want to say thanks for doing this. Appreciate
Rob,
it.
I really appreciate your friendship. And one thing I'll say is, if you're listening to this, you need somebody like Rob that you can both throw things back and forth. Life is not meant, like no man is an island. We're not meant to do this life all by ourselves. Find somebody that you can engage with, that you can trust, that you can share stuff with, and you know it's not going anywhere else, and grow together in that friendship. You do need friends, and pick your friends wisely, but you do need somebody.
I love ending on that note. Thanks so much, Jeff. Have an awesome day, my friend. Be well.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much for listening to the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital concierge. For all your digital marketing needs, especially WordPress security, jump on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and let's help you put the pieces together and make your business succeed in the marketing realm. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to my good friend and friend of the show, Jeff Brown, for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I love you. I miss you very much. And thanks for all the inspiration over the years and your caring, your understanding, and helping me grow as an individual. Thank you, Dad.